We've got a lot of speakers today that we're really excited to present to you. So just a quick overview. Firstly, we're going to have a welcome and a couple of introductions to the speakers today. We're going to have an overview of the Harris Federation, our academies in the Federation, the structure and our ethos, which I think is a very common thread throughout, and you'll definitely see how much that is at the heart of the Federation at the end of this. We're also going to provide information on the ECT programme, the structure and the support that will be available to ECTs and the career progression that we can provide. We're also going to talk through what you can expect on a standard day as an ECT, the benefits of working here at the Harris Federation. We've got a current ECT on the call today who will also be able to give a bit more detail on how the Harris Federation has prepared them for their career and how they found being an ECT with us. So just a couple of introductions. So hi, my name's Erica Ritchie. You probably recognise my name because I email you all quite a lot. But I'm a talent acquisition coordinator here at Harris Federation, specialising on the teaching side of recruitment. My main focus is on ECT recruitment and making sure we get all the amazing talent through the doors and working at our academies. So I'm your go-to for any recruitment questions, or if you need updates on roles, or you're looking for a certain role, I'm the person to go to. We've also got Jack Doherty here on the call. Jack is the head of academy at Harris Academy Greenwich. Jack has been with Harris since 2011, and he was also part of the team that helped to lead Harris Academy Greenwich from special measures into outstanding. So a very inspirational journey, and he's going to talk a little bit more about his journey as a teacher and also provide the overview of the Federation academies and structure. We've also got Gavin Williams on the call, who is the head of the Harris Leadership College. Harris Leadership College is our professional development centre where we provide very high quality training programmes to schools and academies across London. Gavin's going to talk a little bit more about that in detail, and also how the Leadership College can support ECTs and the career progression it can provide later on in Harris careers. We've also got William Gavin on the call, who is a current ECT in English at Harris Academy Merton. So he's going to talk through how his experience as an ECT at Harris has been. And finally, we've got Kate Castro-Martin, who will be joining a bit later on. She is the Early Career Framework Manager at Harris Teaching School Hub. So she's going to talk through a bit more about what you could expect on the ECT programme and the development that it can provide you. So without further ado, we're going to move on to Jack now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jack Doherty. As I've been kind of ominously introduced, I've been in the school since 2011, which makes me feel really old. The first time I ever stood in front of kids as an ITT, as an initial teacher trainee, was back in 2011, 2010, and a real baptism of fire in what was at that time a special measures school, as many of the Harris academies kind of were when they were taken over. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey that's kind of hopefully relevant to you. I don't know, I'm sure there's other ones within the Federation, but I'm a head that's gone from being a trainee through as an ECT, through as a lead practitioner and a head of department and an assistant principal, up to being a head of school. And I don't say that for any means of kind of accolade. It's more the fact that I know how you're feeling sat there, that I've been in your position of maybe finishing your first year or second year and going, well, what am I going to do? And the reality is, I think how the school was in a bad place, but the training was in a really bad place in those first couple of years. And I'll tell you what was missing and what really pleasingly the Federation has now developed to be able to offer now. And God, I wish I had that when I was in my first and second year. So I am merely one of the 53 heads within the Harris academies. Mixture of primary and secondary, 22 primaries, 31 secondaries, I think, at the moment. And we all absolutely love working with trainees. And I think the picture I've picked there is a pretty good one of describing what life might be like as an ECT and probably a head teacher as well, that there's a bit of brightness, there's some shadows to suggest there's sun, there is definitely sun there. And also there are some rain clouds always storming around. And to be really successful at this job, you've got to love the sunshine, but you've also got to love the stormy clouds, and that's what working with teenagers or young people, if you're in primaries, is all about. So thank you for listening to us this afternoon. I suppose the other thank you is to say you're joining a noble profession that will go deep with kids, whether you like it or not, and you'll be remembered in years to come, whether, you know, whoever that teacher is. We've all got that teacher at school. Mine was Mr. Gunn, who was a science teacher who saw me for having the dyslexia that was undiagnosed when I first was taught by him in year 9, and it meant that I was able to do things in school that I probably would have either refused or not done when I was at school. So thank you. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be remembered for years to come, and it's a massively noble profession. But as I said, in the first couple of years of my time in this school, that didn't look like that by any means. It was an old behemoth of a school before that new building was built. The training lacked 3 clear things. The training lacked a clear ambition for trainees, either nationally or within my school. I think there's someone that's unmuted. Thank you. It lacked ambition for trainees. It lacked a clear route that was well sequenced and, you know, able to build from ITT to ECT year 1 to ECT year 2. And it lacked a specification in detail beyond that ECT route. It was kind of you're left to your own. And some of you that maybe have been in schools for a little while may recognise that. And the Federation have done a brilliant job in over the last decade in making sure that isn't an issue anymore. So just on the next slide, I suppose the Federation, what else do you need to know about the Federation if you're not particularly au fait with everything that we do? Obviously, it's a big Federation. If we stand for one thing, it's about removing the sticky floors that exist in London. You're potentially joining a Federation who exists to fix the broken social elevator that exists in London and, you know, wider in the UK, but certainly in London, that unfortunately, whether we like it or not, that students that are born into socio-economic disadvantage in London live, work, and, dare I say, you know, die in disadvantage, in more so in our capital than many other capitals around the world. And whether we like it or not, whether we agree that education only exists for this means, that bit of paper that they get as a result of a primary education or a secondary education opens or closes doors to allow them to say no to as many careers as they can say yes to. And while we are absolutely not an exams factory as a federation, unfortunately, unless we collectively combine and change education in this country, that bit of paper that allows them to open doors is really important. And yet it will be much more than just that allows us to fix you know, disadvantage in this country. So so that's really important. We're also, just on the next slide, I think it's worth saying you're never just a teacher. There's a danger that when you join a federation that or you've maybe done something else in your career and now you're coming into being a teacher, that you feel at the bottom of a pecking order again, and you feel at the bottom of a hierarchy. What I need you to know is that we as a collective group of head teachers and as leaders in schools, whether that's, you know, you've been there for 1 year or you've been there for 10, we recognise that you bring an amazing amount of experience from other things that would be useful for kids to know, whether that is, you know, as one of my trainees has brought a huge wealth of experience from the world of PR, who's just reinventing certain aspects of my school in the way that others would never be able to, and might be in their first or second year of teaching, but can do amazing things. So I want you to know that you're never just an ECT or just a teacher. You bring a wealth of experience, which to the thousands of young people that you'll encounter is going to be very useful. The Federation also very good behind the scenes at helping with wellbeing and benefits. So, you know, we're not a franchise. Our chips are different to the chips down the road at the other McDonald's. That we, you know, wellbeing is very different from one school to another, and yet it is definitely prioritised across the Federation. It's the things that head teachers have to debate and talk about quite a lot. The benefits are very good when it comes to, you know, our healthcare insurance, and we get obviously lots of holidays and things like that. But I think we might touch on later all the kind of extra benefits that we get. We get, you know, loans for ICT equipment and things like that that are really helpful. There's an electric car scheme at the moment, which is about a third or more off on electric cars through Tusker. So it is obviously a really tough job, but there are perks to big organisations like ours that make it a little bit easier. So yes, in terms of the federation itself, just on the next slide. Thank you. That it's operated since 1990 and really exploded in numbers in the last few years. We're now 52 schools, and we train thousands of teachers every year. We've got teaching school hubs. The ideas and initiatives that have transformed the opportunities of pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds has been quite remarkable. And it's the social mobility aspect that you are signing up for solving, and there are some amazing alumni that are now changing the world out there, whether that is winning Commonwealth medals, whether that is, Stormzy's often as wheeled out as a famous alumnus of ours, but also those that are going on and changing policy, and even those that are coming back who taught in Harris, wherever it is to come, that were taught in a Harris, coming back to teach, which is magic. So just to be a bit more selfish, I suppose, on your behalf, to kind of finish off from me. Your program is going to be ambitious, it's going to be really well sequenced, and it's going to be specified in detail. People have spent a very long time thinking, what is it that someone that is working with the types of kids that we need to work with is able to do, and what do they need to know about as a result of 1 or 2 years of an ECT course? Exactly as you would think about if you were thinking about taking a 8-year-old from A to B. We need to think about young people or people that are coming into being a teacher from another career, and it's exactly the same thought process. In years past, it was not like this. I wish I had this, but now it is very well sequenced and specified in incredible detail. And your journey from ITT or ECT really has no limits, and I say that through now managing 150 staff and following their ambition. You might start off as an initial teacher trainee or an ECT. Just on the next slide, please. And that might then develop into, through your ECT training that happens in school, as you'll hear about. Harris do 2 teaching and learning conferences per year, and that's for all. And you might have some school-based training, and of course every academy is different there. We've got 130 odd hours of teacher training that happens internally here at Harris Greenwich, but pretty much every school will have their own extensive in-school practice, and that's really important. We are a lead facilitator of the National Professional Qualifications, so it might not be in your ECT year 1, but it might be in your ECT year 2, or straight after that you might be invited to do one of the MPQs. Whether that's leading teaching, whether that's leading literacy, whether that is leading behaviour and culture or something like that, so that the doors are open for you going forward. And then, of course, you may have no idea where you want to be in 3 or 4 years. You might have a very strong idea, but we are very, very keen on offering opportunities, therefore, to grow into being, heads of department, head seconds in department, pastoral heads of year, academic heads of year, lead practitioners, where you use all your experience to go and teach even more lessons than maybe doing the administrative side of heads of department. And then, dare I say, some of you might be mad enough to go into senior leadership, and that has its own amazing side of things. So yeah, I trust most of this you already know, but I just need you to know that that joining a Harris school means that you are promised an ambitious curriculum that is specified in detail in the sequence, so that you will be really successful. And like I say, I'm very jealous of the route that some of you may be about to afford yourself. Thanks ever so much for listening, and I wish you all the best in the decisions that you're about to make with your lives coming up.
Thanks, Jack. We're going to move on to Gavin now, who is the head of the Harris Leadership College.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. Yeah, nice to see you all. Yeah, if you could flick onto the next one, actually, initially, Erica, please, for the next slide to start with. So, yeah, my name is Gavin Williams. I'm the head of Harris Leadership College. And what I would like to do today is just to go over where that sits in line with all the other professional development, and some of which Jack's touched upon there already as well, across the Federation. And if I could have the next slide up, please, Erica. So essentially, there are three, and actually four now, and I'll come to this in a second, contributors towards the Harris Institute for Teaching and Leadership. We have two teachers, very recently secured the third one. So moving forward from September, we're going to be 3 teaching school hubs plus Harris Leadership College, where what we're looking to make sure we provide the best training we can for all staff within the Federation and beyond. Predominantly today, I'm going to talk about the MPQs and the suite of MPQ programs that are available. But what you need to understand is that thread right the way through from the very start of your career. There is a thread of activity that happens that we initiate in terms of professional development all the way through. Now, you would have experienced that, some of you would have experienced that already in terms of the golden thread with regards to ITT into, or ITE into ECT. And I'm going to talk about what happens after that in a little bit more detail in a second. So there are, like I said, there are 3 teaching school hubs plus the Leadership College which contribute that, and that falls under the banner of the Harris Institute of Teaching and Leadership. Now, our building is based, it's a purpose-built building over in Beckenham opposite Harris Bromley Girls' School, and that is our centre, that's our base for professional development and training. We run not just the MPQs there, we run lots and lots of different things, maths hubs, Senko courses, etc., from that base, and we're looking to expand that and deliver those out of not just the teaching school hub areas, but also our partner schools as well. So yeah, if you could flick onto the next one for us, Erica, thank you. So I predominantly want to talk about the MPQs. Now, the one thing I will say with the MPQs is that and the one thing I haven't put on the slide is that we are part of the National Institute for Teaching. We are one of the founding MATs. The National Institute for Teaching was set up about 18 months ago with 4 founding MATs from around the country, setting it up for teacher development and hopefully degree awarding bodies as well, as a degree awarding body in the future. So Dan is actually the chair of the National Institute of Teaching as well, and we have been a cornerstone of actually building that organisation from scratch. Now, there are lots of things that Kate's going to probably touch upon in terms of how the National Institute for Teaching goes into the ECT programme, the Early Careers Framework. Obviously, there is parts to that to do with the IT as well, but I want to look at the professional development opportunities that there are available. So we run all of the programmes, and the NIT have been, and this isn't the case for every provider, but we are one of the only providers that have all of the MPQ programs full suite. So we have the specialist programs on the left hand side there. So as you can see, we've got leading teacher development, behaviour and culture, literacy and primary maths, and then the leadership MPQs, which again, as Jack mentioned, that's probably something you'll look towards in the future, possibly. Leading teaching is about leading teaching within a department or across a phase or across a year group. Leading teacher development is about leading professional development across a school. The behaviour and culture, self-explanatory really, but in terms of how you would lead behaviour and culture across, again, a department, a year group, a phase, or even a school. Leading literacy is how you can, again, across a certain group, how you can lead the literacy. It's not just necessarily about the literacy element, it's how that is then disseminated across the phase, year group, school. And same for leading primary maths, is very much a leadership programme. And we run all the early years, the Senko one, which is new for September, the senior leadership, headship and executive leadership, and there is a CEO program as well. But all these are in conjunction with the NIOT. So we, as the East, South and London campus for the National Institute for Teaching, are based in Beckenham, but we do have programs running out of Chafford 100, for instance. We have had them out of Crystal Palace, but obviously with the close proximity to the East, South and London campus, we tend to run them there. With the new teaching school hub, we are going to be looking at different areas of the country to develop our delivery. We also then have associate colleges that we work with around the East, South and London region. It's a huge area. We sort of looking at close to Corby out to Norfolk, right the way down the Kent coast, right along the Sussex coast, right the way through Berkshire and back up and round. So we cover a vast area. So we do have associate colleges who deliver the National Institute programs under the East, South and London campus. So just to show you what one would look like, an overview, if you flick onto the next one for us, Erica, thank you. This is an overview of what the specialist program would look like. Now, again, I don't expect you to take all this in. It's more of a case of just showcasing how they are structured and how they provide that support, and how you can then put that practice put it into practice in your own context when you go back to your own schools if you are taking part in one of these programs. So this is a specialist program. So where it says local seminar, these are face-to-face day sessions where you basically learn all your online study beforehand. So when you come to the local seminars, you'll have expert facilitators going through the theory and putting it into practice, putting it into context, giving exemplification so that you can actually put it into your own context, so you have something tangible to take back to your school with, to look at your practice or the school's practice. You have practice clinics, which are small group concentrated work where you can work with an expert support person and discuss things about your own context. We have school visits where and the virtual visits where you will visit a school and a school leader will take you through and narrate live within the school day and whatever it is the focus is on. Subject masterclasses, national masterclasses as well, where again a national expert will go through an aspect of practice depending on which program it is. And if you could chuck onto the next slide for us, Erica, this is again just an overview. So really the local seminars are the chance to really get involved and liaise with other people from other contexts and almost go through what it's like in your own context and see how you can network with others, apply your own learning to your own context. As I said, the virtual visits, the online masterclasses, practice clinics, and then the self-study, that's the stuff that you'll do outside. These are a year-long course, the specialist courses, and the assessment period. Sorry, the assessment is a 1,500 word assignment at the end, which is in relation to a case study and putting things into context. If you could flip forward to the next slide, please, Erica. This is just the last little bit on this. The leadership one's over 18 months. It's 2,000 words for the assessment. There's 4 sessions rather than 3 with a specialist model. There's lots of different visits there. The coaching replaces the practice clinics as well. So there's a slight difference there where you'll get some 1 to 3 coaching, group coaching, and there's and the self-study units are the same as well. So in terms of the overview, it's similar. It's just extended a little bit because there's a little bit more in terms of the theory, the depth, the context, and how that looks moving in your own context as well. So so I know I've done a whistle-stop tour of what the MPQs are like, who we are working with, what we are. There's lots and lots of other areas to professional development across the Federation within individual schools, but also collectively as well. But this essentially is our main process for professional development, especially working with the NIOT, because that is the thread that runs through the training, the ECT year, and into these models. And as you will see, they do cross over considerably in terms of how they are made up. So it is school-led. It is based around the latest research. There is a research arm of the National Institute as well. So that is another thing that feeds into all of our programs, and they're always evolving. So thank you for listening. Like I said, these are just a small snippet of what we do in terms of professional development, what the Harris Institute is, and who we work with. But thank you, and best wishes for the future.
Thanks, Gavin. We're going to move on now to William, who is a current ECT, and he's just going to talk us through what his experience as an ECT at Harris Academy has been like so far.
Okay, hello everybody. Yeah, my name's William Gavin. I'm an ECT year 1. Had a fantastic trainee year last year, and now I get to kind of experience or get experience from experienced teachers, mentors, etc. So I'm here today just to talk you through quite briefly where I began, where it all started, and then where I am up to this point, kind of the experiences I went through, the support I received, how the Academy has provided me with the skills, knowledge and experience to develop as a practitioner. So I'll just start off with a little brief bit about myself. Maybe people can relate to this situation, maybe they can't, or maybe they don't. Essentially, there will be some people out there who have been through a similar thing as myself. So I started off, I actually went to this very Harris sixth form. It was a great 2 years. But after those 2 years, I didn't want to go any further with their education. So I ended up staying in retail for about 14 years. It was a very long time. Learned plenty of skills there, customer service, how to work with other people and things like that. But I decided after 5 years of being out of education, I wanted to go to university. I wanted to do something different. So I went and got a degree in sports journalism. I'd always been a fan of sports. I liked writing. I enjoyed it. So I thought, you know what, let's combine the two and go and get a degree. So I did that down in Falmouth University. It was the first time I'd ever gone away from home. It was my first experience of living such a distance away I can just pop home. And it was a real journey for me. It started off very tough and got a little bit easier as time went on. And in the end, I was successful.
For a job. Yeah, but it's a big meeting, so
Okay.
I'll mute.
Okay, so after going through a few different jobs to do with sports journalism, I was news reading, PR support, social media officer, article writer, media creator. I realized it just wasn't quite as fulfilling as I needed it to be. So I decided to have a chat with my family. It turns out my family are all involved in education now. My sister is actually currently a trainee herself. She's going through, so she's where a lot of you will be at this moment. I was, of course, a trainee last year. My brother was a maths teacher for 3 years. My mother is involved in education, so is my father. So that was where kind of I was pointed to. They encouraged me to give it a go, see how I felt about it. So I became a TA for a year. That was absolutely great. Working with special educational needs students, I was like, this is where I want to be. This is where I feel like I can make a bit of a difference. So after talking to my family and going through things, I started the trainee program, and it was a fantastic year. Really enjoyed it. Made the most out of those slightly less lessons that you get, and also developed as a practitioner over the course of a year. So ECT1, what kind of support are you going to get? What kind of support do I receive as I'm progressing? Essentially, there's a few things that we do. Weekly mentor meetings. In these, they're very similar to the ones you probably have as a trainee. We discuss lessons, concerns, any future plans, scheme of work, pedagogy, anything that's on my mind. I can simply say to my mentor, this is what I want to work on this week, or this is what I would like to discuss with you. It's usually about, it can be up to an hour, but some people I know have different agreements. Maybe they spread it out throughout the week. It's whatever works for you. So do, when you join the ECT program, do speak to your mentor, work out what is best for yourself. We also have, of course, subject days. I've actually got one tomorrow, so that'll be at 4 till 5 p.m. And that happens a couple of times a term. We'll also have other meetings as well, not just subject specific, but it might be on something that we are working on. So this could be something like questioning, this could be pedagogy, it could be anything to do with teaching in general. So you have subject days, which are more specific to what you're actually teaching. Then you have more generic days, which are more about just learning how to be an effective teacher. We also have, I also have my head of department, Jess Feeney. She's fantastic. Any concerns I have, I can just pop over to her, have a quick chat, and then see what she thinks. Of course, this is supported by the coordinator here at Harris Academy Merton, Paige Dutch. She has a wealth of experience, and she was actually my mentor when I was a trainee last year. So yeah, once again, I've got tons of support here, support throughout the academy. There's actually even though I'm an English teacher, there's a maths teacher who's been here for nearly 20 years. And I sometimes mark books in his classroom. I just observe him teaching. And I simply do that because I want to see, what does he do? How does he establish rapport? How does he establish behaviors? So I make the most of that slightly less timetable. I think it's about 10% less in your ECT 1 year. So definitely take advantage of that when you obviously join yourselves. In regards more specifically to skills, I've developed through my own experience, just being in the classroom every single day. Weekly mentor meetings have been paramount to that. ECT days, training days, as I've already mentioned, they will have a specific focus that you should either consider, apply, and then see what happens. Essentially, the Great Teaching Toolkit is the platform that we use to support ourselves. So that is full of further reading modules, tasks, just anything, any kind of information that you need that you think you might be able to apply to your classroom. And of course, there is, as I mentioned before, training days where we just go over specific things such as pedagogy, questioning, supporting students, and any other areas that need to be considered. This further supports my knowledge in building my knowledge and developing myself as a teacher overall, not just a teacher of English, but as a teacher who could walk into potentially any classroom and understand how to at least engage the students in an effective way. So when I talk about knowledge and building knowledge, we always have literature that we can do further reading on. We have opportunities to discuss concerns or even curiosities with experienced teachers. There is a recommended reading list. And of course, whenever we go meet up with the other ECTs, we're talking about our experiences, what's going on in the classroom, what things aren't going so well in the classroom, and how can we work together to kind of find a solution, or at least try new things. I feel as though one big thing that I've developed this year is not being afraid to try something and for it to go wrong. Essentially, I'm not afraid to try something new that I've never tried before and get a reaction, see what happens, see what went well. And that's all been absolutely brilliant. In terms of experience, I've mentioned them before. You'll always have your weekly mentor meetings, but this is also supported by full lesson observations. So you get a couple of these per term. And essentially, it's just a full lesson where my mentor comes in, sits down, tells me what went right, tells me what went wrong, and how we can move forward. Of course, during those mentor meetings, especially with the observations as well, we have time to discuss, break down lessons, see what was it that the students didn't connect with, or what went really well, and what we need to recognize we did really, really well. So all of this, the skills, the knowledge, and the experience has all been developed through things like we had Tom Bennett give us a webinar on behavior. It inspired me so much. I bought his book called Running the Room. It was really, really good book. Half the book is all about his experiences, where he's come from, and then the other half is practical things that you can apply within your classroom to support you with behavior. Of course, the other things are subject days, consultant talks. To be fair, there was quite a few during our trainee year last year, but we've got quite a few this year as well, and that's been invaluable to me. And of course, the biggest one for developing my skills, experience, and knowledge has been talking to other ECTs, just seeing what they, how they were getting on and what they were doing. So just to finish off, overall, the Harris ECT program has essentially allowed me to develop my understanding of what makes a successful teacher. I think when you're a trainee, it's hard to conceptualize exactly what that looks like. And I think this year I've kind of gotten to grips a bit more about what that actually is. It's improved my confidence and my ability to teach. It's supported me through concerns, and let's face it, we all have concerns and questions that we'd like to ask, ranging from how do I get through to the student to what's an effective seating plan. By the way, it's always usually boy, girl, just if anybody's a little bit curious. You can take ideas from a range of experienced teachers. You can discuss approaches and strategies with other ECTs, of course. And of course, the biggest one, I've just grown as an educator this year. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. And just to end on, once again, my name is William Gavin. I'm an ECT Year 1. If there's anybody who has any questions at all, please feel free to give me an email, essentially, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
Thanks, William. We're going to move on now to Kate Castro-Martin, who is the ECF Regional Manager at the Harris Teaching Hub.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's lovely to hear from William, about his experiences on the programme. He's one of the ECTs that I work with. So I just wanted to take the opportunity just to talk through day to day what it would be like as an ECT, and how does the Early Career Framework programme support you during those first 2 years. We use the National Institute of Teaching's ECF programme. So there's some key elements I just wanted to bring to your attention before I go into that day to day. So the first thing is the ECF programme is centred on our mentor-ECT relationship. So we know from research that the relationship that you would have with your mentor is crucial to the success of the first couple of years in induction. We train the mentors so they can best respond to your needs as an ECT. It's also designed to be really applicable to your classroom practice without taking up excessive amounts of time. You're going to be busy people as ECTs, so we're really mindful of that, and the programme has been designed to ensure that ECTs and mentors know more and can apply more in your own context. We prioritise something called deliberate practice, peer support and expert input to make sure you get the most from your induction. And the last thing is just respecting teacher time, and your expertise is really important to us. As I mentioned, your time is going to be precious, and our ECF programme is respectful of time, of your time and also your mentor's time in schools. We provide really lean, concise research summaries and innovations in wellbeing to ensure kind of progress for you. So I know that Gavin has talked to you a little bit about MPQs, and I just want to take a moment to look at the bigger picture and where does the Early Career Framework fit into your professional development journey. So before embarking on your Early Career Framework, you will have recently completed your ITT year, or you might be due to complete this summer. And during this time, you would have been working with the ITT core content framework. And the next stage that I'll be talking about is your early career teaching, during which you're entitled to 2 years of early career support via the ECF programme. And during induction, you build upon the foundations you made in your ITT year to ensure you can thrive in a successful career as a teacher. So next slide, please. So what does the modules look like? So what I have here is an overview. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see 6 modules. So the programme over 2 years is broken into 12 modules. Each module will last a half term. It is a curriculum of professional learning that's going to take you through the Early Career Framework. The Early Career Framework is rooted in evidence. It outlines what you as ECTs are entitled to learn about during the 2 years of your induction. You revisit the same Early Career Framework in Year 2. If you could just click for me, Erica. This is an opportunity to deepen your understanding of the statements of the ECF through engagement with summaries of academic literature. There's a shift as well to look at the ECF through a subject-specific lens, and that's something that we're really proud of in terms of the programme that we deliver. Nationally, a lot of programmes think about it, and the Early Career Framework is very generic. It's not subject-specific. But towards the end of Year 1 and in Year 2, we start to look at the Early Career Framework very precisely through your subject-specific lens. So you can also identify your own areas for development, and you start to have a bit of ownership over what you want to focus on, particularly in Year 2 as well, once you've covered the Early Career Framework. So next slide, please, Erica. Thank you. So as an ECT, as was mentioned earlier, you will be in receipt of a 10% reduction to your timetable. That is designed to be devoted to your professional development. This is on top of your PPA. That's time given to you for planning, preparation and assessment. All main scale teachers will have that, but you would receive 10% on top of that. And the graphic that's just displayed on the screen there for you just explains how that's broken out. So as you can see, I mentioned earlier on, there's 6 modules in year 1, each lasting a half term. As you can see in purple, and as I mentioned, the mentor is pivotal in terms of your induction. You will meet with them each week and they will support you with your professional development. More on mentor meetings in a minute. Each half term, you will complete self-studies. So those are the sections in blue. Each self-study comprises of 6 readings with supporting videos of exemplification of best practice in different settings. So be it secondary, SEND or primary, and there's different videos for different contexts. The idea is that you read 1 reading per week with an opportunity to embed that week's theory into your practice with support from your mentor. In addition, you also heard William talking about the training, so meeting up with the other ECTs. So each half term in year 1, you will attend 1 local network seminar. So I know that William, he is with Anna, and that's his facilitator, and he meets with ECTs from other schools local to Harris Academy Merton. So like he has, your session would be, your own cluster would be comprised of ECTs from your local area, and every effort that we make, myself and my colleague for primary, spend a lot of time on Google Maps, mapping out journey times to make sure you're attending a local seminar that is ideally no more than 30 minutes from your school. There are training sessions. These are training sessions facilitated by experienced middle or senior leaders who have a real authority to lead your professional development. It's important to us that your facilitator has a local knowledge of your context. In fact, I've just been in a meeting earlier on today with a facilitator, and she has different schools within her group, and she was talking about what it's like at one school to be at the other school, and she needs to make sure that she acknowledges that in her training. And so it's really important our facilitators know the schools that you come from so they can adapt their sessions as necessary. So they're really best placed to ensure that these sessions are highly relevant to your experiences. You'll see also on the infographic that the last session is a subject phase seminar. And this is going to be an opportunity to start developing your subject phase expertise, and that's led by a specialist in that area. Prior to that, it would be your mentor who's crucial, developing your subject or phase specific knowledge. And then finally, I'm really glad you heard a little bit about Tom Bennett earlier. You can see a little picture there of him poking there at the bottom. We've got Tom Bennett, and then we had Kate Jones, and we've also got Alex Quigley coming. So each term, there's also national expert seminars, which have been really well received and a wonderful opportunity to hear from these experts. So that's an overview of year 1. Very quickly, I'll give you a taster of year 2, but not too much because I think you'll probably be building up with lots of information right now. But year 2, essentially, it's no longer 10%, but it is 5% reduction. This is a relatively new element of induction to ensure that teachers at the start of your career still benefit from time to focus on your professional development. So that 5% is devoted for you to engage with the ECF programme. As you can see, you'll continue with your mentor meetings, but these are now fortnightly in year 2. And your relationship with your mentor will evolve as you grow in confidence and competence. And the relationship will transform probably more from one that was mentoring to maybe more of a coaching type relationship as you build in your competence in year 2. Self-directed studies are shorter as well in year 1. It's 45 minutes long, and you actually have a choice of 3 readings that you want to read. Again, you're taking ownership about where you want your professional development to go. And also you'd still benefit from live training, meet with ECTs from year 1 in your local seminars. Those are still happening, but they become termly. And in the alternate half term, that's when you have subject phase seminars, continue the work that you started at the end of year 1. And we continue with our termly national expert seminars, so they continue into year 2. So what I'll do is I will just talk very briefly about mentor meetings. If you could slip to the next slide. So not this one, Erica, but the next one for me, please. Thank you. So one key element of Year 1 programme is you receiving granular feedback on a specific element of your practice each week. I'll just give you 30 seconds to read that quotation at the top there. So it's really important to us that you are getting regular feedback on your teaching and learning. Some providers, it might just be every 6 weeks. Sometimes it's not your mentor that's doing that. That's more of a formal assessment. Whereas part of the NIOT program is you have that drip feed feedback on a really specific area of your practice. So what would happen is you and your mentor would agree in advance what they are going to focus on when they drop in, and a time for them to drop in. When do you want them to come in? This is not an unannounced observation or anything like that. This is an agreement with you and your mentor. What do you want feedback on? When will they come and see you? It might be that in your self-study you read about using partially worked examples with your students, and your mentor drops in to give you feedback on that element of your teaching. So you are doing your self-study, but it's not just a case of you're reading something external. You have an opportunity to put it into your teaching and learning, and your mentor feeds back on how that's going as well. And by having those short pre-arranged drop-ins, you will receive regular and timely feedback on your teaching, which will aid your continuous development. And as I talked earlier on, it's all about being able to implement that teaching and learning, that theory, into your practice. You'd receive the feedback in your mentor meetings, which not only helps set you targets for that week in your teaching, but also your mentor will support you in identifying when and how to do it. So next slide, please. Just a few seconds on the wellbeing tool. So the start of any career is going to be an exhilarating, nerve-wracking time, but it's even more true of teaching. It brings an intensity of opportunities, challenges, heightened emotions. So we want to make sure that we support you as you step into your classrooms. You have access to the NIOT Wellbeing tool. It's a digital tool that you would use to complete regular wellbeing checkups. The wellbeing tool allows you to just take time to reflect on how you're doing, psychologically, physically, socially. It's a demanding role, so it's really important that you recognise if your resources are running low. It might prompt you to have a chat with your mentor or your induction tutor. But also the NIOT Wellbeing, it's a research tool which helps NIOT as well identify any pinch points. The data that is gathered is never shared with your school. It's not looked at individually, but it just forms a bigger picture, because a priority for NIOT is to support teacher wellbeing. Therefore, the digital tool helps generate a bigger picture of ECT wellbeing, which the research team can use at NIOT essentially, and they can use that to inform their planning to alleviate pressures across the year. And the final slide, please, Erica. So I'll just show you, these are some of the feedback from our ECTs, excuse me. It's really important to us that after each session, ECTs always have an opportunity to give us feedback, so we can identify what's working well in the programme, what we need to improve upon, and they have an opportunity as well to give us feedback on how they're finding things. So here we go. We've got some feedback from ECTs that you can take a look at.
The last part of our presentation today. Just going to talk through the next steps. So making applications for a role at Harris. So all of our vacancies are listed on the Harris Careers website. On the website, you can also filter through via subject and also by academy. So please do feel free to have a look. If there's any vacancies that are of interest to you, please do feel free to make an application. Also, with our application process, once you've applied for one role, the system will recognise your details, and you'll be able to apply for multiple roles without having to make the application multiple times. If there are no suitable vacancies, you can set up an email alert via our careers site. You can also complete the formal ECT registration via our website, via this link, and then you'll be put into a talent pool. And if there's any opportunities that arise in the future, we will get in contact that might be suitable to you. If there are no suitable vacancies available at the time, what you can do is you can email me with your CV and your preferred subject and your location, and I'm more than happy to work with you to find a match that will be suitable for you. We can also get in touch with head teachers to see if there's a capacity for, say you were a geography teacher and there's no geography position, say at Harris South Norwood. I can get in touch with South Norwood or a nearby academy and see if there's any capacity there. And we can also set up visits and conversations with head teachers if that's something you're interested in. So we're very open. It's a very friendly process. So yeah, please, I would really recommend have a look at our career site, and if you have any questions, you can email me via the email below. Thank you. That concludes our ECT event today. If you have any questions, please do feel free to get in touch with me. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone for their time in joining with us today. We hope you've enjoyed it and that you've learned a lot about the Harris Federation.